All righty then. Well, it says that we're alive, but I never know. All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. This is Jamie Green, and we're back with another Ruth and Naomi roundtable. As most of you know, um, I got this idea for the round table, based on the biblical story of Ruth and Naomi and how we as sisters have a responsibility to pour into each other and to feed each other's soul. But it's not just about a biblical story, it's about everyday relationships, it's about sisterhood. And tonight I'm excited to have two very powerful women with me tonight that are going to be speaking into our lives. So I want to thank you all for being here. And tonight we're going to gather and navigate the intersections of purpose, pain, creativity, motherhood, and mission. Our theme for tonight is crossroads and pivots. And we're going to talk about how we reach sometimes hard places on our journey and what women do in order to courageously step into the next level of what's next for them. So, first, let me introduce you to my amazing guest. I have Mrs. Lisa N. Alexander with us. She is a filmmaker, a communication strategist, and founder of Pretty Work Studios. Her award winning media work explores themes of identity, justice, and healing. A dedicated advocate, Lisa has served on multiple equity and women's leadership boards and creates content that amplifies underrepresented voices. Through her films, workshops, and storytelling platforms, she helps communicate she helps communities speak their truth with power and clarity. Lisa believes deeply in legacy, healing, and transformative narrative. She creates stories that heal and challenge systems. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you, James Cena. Happy to be here.
Thank you. And then also with me, I have for the very first time, Ms. Julia Press Simmons. She is a prolific author, a media executive, a spoken word artist, playwright, an entrepreneur based in Pennsylvania. She served as editor in chief of a Merriam Wire, I don't think I pronounced that right, magazine, and Intellectual Inc. magazine. In 2023, Julia Press Simmons signed a multi book deal with Urban Books, releasing re edited editions of Strawberry Mansion, Begonia Brown, and Violet to national shelves. Julia is a devoted wife and mother who believes in telling the truth beautifully. So, welcome, ladies, to my platform. I am
Thank you,
beyond
Jamie.
thrilled and honored that you spending some time with me tonight. So let's get started. All right. Um, as I said, we're going to talk tonight about uh, pivoting. Like there are points on our life journey when we reach a place where we have to pivot and make some changes. And it's not necessarily an easy thing to do. But let's start on a personal level. Lisa, when you hear the word crosswords, what memory or moment comes to your mind?
The first moment that would come to my mind is when my sister passed away, because that was a blind side. She was my younger sister, and so to lose her so suddenly, without warning, just gone, that was a call for an immediate pivot, because now um, she left children behind, right? She had three kiddos, or has three kiddos. And so that in that moment, it was a life-changing pivot that required just lots of prayer and attention, and some hard and tough decisions that had to be made. And so that was the biggest That was the biggest pivot. I would say, for the last decade, that was my biggest pivot. That was
Wow.
the biggest one.
All right, Julia, how has motherhood or marriage impacted your sense of purpose in seasons of transition?
Motherhood has been a driving force in my life. I had my son on my 16th birthday, and I didn't know much, but I knew that I was a child and I did not want him to suffer for
Mm-hmm.
what I did not know. So I became driven, driven to for him not to be less. And I don't think I would be where I am today if not for that drive that he gave me with his introduction to the world.
Wow, I love both of those responses because both of them required that you ladies really pivot. Like we're not talking about, oh, this is a cute little turn in the road here. Let me make a left right here. You actually, your entire lives were changed in those moments, and so that's basically what I want to talk about tonight because we're living in a time when pivoting, changing, readjusting, realignment, all of that is occurring every day. And I talk to women who are just overwhelmed, some to the point of just frustrated, just forget it. I'm just giving up. I'm just, crawling in a hole somewhere. And so I wanted us to have a conversation tonight to encourage them that, it happens to all of us. None of us are not going to experience periods in your life when you have to pivot. You have to sometimes it hits you, knocks you off your feet almost like whoa, like you get throat punched almost. But you have to decide, I'm not going to quit here. I have to keep going. And having children when you're not prepared for them. I was just telling somebody this story today about when my second child, it was 12 and a half years between my sons. And I go to the doctor thinking I have the flu or something. And the doctor says, was there any chance you could be pregnant? Let's do a pregnancy test. And I'm like, are you kidding? I was like 32 years old. My son was 12 and a half, like 12 years old. And I'm like, no, honey, that's not it. So then he says, well, let's just take the test anyway. So we take the test, girlfriends. Let me tell you, when that man came back in that room and told me that test was positive, you know how you're sitting on the end of the table, right? I remember just falling back, like I didn't even look behind me. I just fell out, and I was crying like somebody died. Like I
Oh wow.
literally just was broken up about this pregnancy, right? Next thing I know, y'all not gonna believe this. The nurse is tapping me on the arm saying, Miss Green, we need this room. I had cried myself to sleep. And I was looking around like, when you wake up, like, where in the world am I? And I said, oh my God. She said, well, the doctor said that you were pretty upset for us to just leave you alone, give you a few minutes to get yourself together. And when I came back in here, you were asleep. So he said, well, just leave her alone. I'm like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. Now you talk about a pivot. So now I'm 32 years old. I have a child that's about to become a teenager. I'm thinking I'm done with all of that. But I wasn't done. I had to start all
No
over.
man.
Wow. All right. So as women, our sense of self is often shifting depending on the room we're in. Let's talk about how, and both of you are very, you're entrepreneurs extraordinaire. You both have your own businesses, more than one. You both are in the public eye a lot and responsible for helping people to create a journey that is successful to them by being transparent and honest. And Lisa, you especially by dealing with subjects and topics that a lot of people call taboo and don't want to even touch. But you take us into that dark place and bring light into that place. So let's talk about how when you reach a point where you know what you're getting ready to do is not going just to impact you, but it's going to impact everybody that you're in touch with, personally and professionally. Let's talk about what process do you go through to make you say, I'm still going to do this. Like, I know it's not comfortable. I know it's not easy. Um, Lisa did a film, Julia, called My Father the Queen.
It's still in pre-production. We haven't started yet. We're
Okay.
still
She's
we're
still working on it.
still working on it.
And
Still working
it
on
is, it just the title alone stops people in their tracks, right?
it. Hmm.
But when you dig into the story of it, it's something that a lot of people don't want to talk about. They don't want to, let's just pretend that's not happening. Okay. Let's ignore that. But Lisa is good at digging into those spots that people don't want to talk about. And so my question to her and to you as well, Julia, is when you reach a place, because Julia writes books and she writes about topics that not everybody is comfortable with.
Hmm.
Um, Even though it's real life, not everybody is comfortable. Some people live behind a wall and they stick their head out every now and then, and they prefer not to open the door wide. Both of you ladies are good at opening the doors wide and talking about things and addressing things that everybody doesn't want to talk about. So I want both of you to tell me, what is your process when you come up upon a topic that you say, I want to talk about, I want to write about, I want to address, I want to talk about it in my magazine, or I want to do a film about it, but I know it's going to make people uncomfortable. What process do you go through mentally that makes you determined to keep going no matter what you think other people's reception will be? Let's start with you, Miss Lisa.
So my process, I don't know if I really have a process for the work. I know that it starts with an idea, usually, in quiet time or whatever, like My Father the Queen came in pieces. I didn't get a full download or understand what it was because I often tell the story. I thought it was going to be a novel. I thought it was going to be a book at first. I got the title and it was like, it's like that's kind of intriguing. And what can we do with that? And then I said, I definitely want to write a book. And it's like, I definitely see this being turned into a movie. And so I drove myself batty because I'm trying to write the book and the screenplay at the same time. And that's I don't do not recommend that. Do not recommend. 0 out of 10. Don't just pick one. And so some kind soul, pulled me out of my misery, and they were like, Lisa, if you're really drawn to the screenplay, write the screenplay. You can always go back and write the book. It's like, okay. And so that's how the film came about. I was very nervous. No lie, very, very nervous because I'm a PK who married a PK who was once a pastor herself at one point, right? And so this subject matter is very taboo in the church. Very, very taboo. We don't want to talk about um, well, we can we condemnation is very real when it comes to homosexuality. We can do that. We can have those conversations. But when it talks about grace or what happens to families that are caught in the thick of this. And so I knew it was important to tell my story. And I ran the script by a couple of people, and they were like, Lisa, this story hasn't been told. It's like we've seen lots of stories, and it's like you have an original piece of work here. And it needs to be told because it's not just you. And so then it becomes all right. bracing for what could be backlash, bracing for what could be all kinds of things. Fortunate right now, we're still in pre-production, so once we get into post-production, once it's released, that could be something different, and you just handle whatever as it comes. Because even without the film being released, just having conversations about the film, people have come and said thank you so much, and it's like, by you telling your story, you're telling my story. And these are from gay men who are very active in their churches. Thank you so much for telling this story. And one gentleman said, "It's like, shoot, you could have been my daughter, telling the same story had I not made different decisions." And so it really becomes about the story itself, and you really are just a vessel for the story,
Yes.
and it's much bigger than you. And so when we were fundraising and we had an event in Chicago, I realized at that point, it's like, this is so much bigger than me. And it's true for every artist. When you're creating, once you put it out in there, it's like, it's no longer yours. It becomes a part of the collective, right?
Yeah.
And it'll be interpreted by whomever. It's gonna infuriate some. It's gonna absolutely heal and bring light to others. And that's just the nature of being an artist and being a creative. It's like, once you put it out, it's out,
Yeah.
and it will accomplish what it's supposed to accomplish. So I
Absolutely.
don't have a process. I I don't
You
have
just go
a
with
process.
the flow. Yeah.
Go. Oh,
Just let the story carry you, pretty much.
it
Absolutely.
has a purpose.
Absolute purpose. Miss Julia,
Yes, ma'am.
how has your creative or professional platform been shaped by moments where you had to pivot? Outside, I know you shared with us about your pregnancy as a teen mom or what have you, but with regard to the work that you do as an author, as a magazine publisher, as a voice for people who, like, I want to say something but I don't have nowhere to say it at, and giving us opportunities to share our stories on your platform. How has moments that you've had to personally pivot shaped the way that you allow us to be on your platform?
Well, I abhor the word no. I cannot tell you how hard you can get me to work by telling me I cannot do something or saying no to my request. And that's what I ran up against the most as an author. Um,
Mhm.
it forces me to see what I'm made of. And I always look to what my mother went through and the strength. And if she can do it, I can do it because I'm from her stock. So every time I encountered a no, or I would just work double hard to find a yes. Like the no started to be the green light for me. So when I tried to, I had published an anthology and I tried to get press for the release and I could not. And then I paid for press and they still didn't show up. I said, we deserve press. We deserve coverage. Our work matters. And I wanted to build a platform where that can happen, where I could service that need. I saw a need. I was told no, and I just went into overdrive. So no one will hear no, not in, not in my earshot. You need press, Intellectual Ink will show up, or a Mary McGuire will show up because we deserve a platform.
I love that. And I want to say I connected with uh, Julia after I was a part of an anthology with Elisa Gabrielle. And Julia read my chapter about a mother's cry. And she said, I want to know more about this organization. And so she interviewed me on her platform. And then she did this whole beautiful thing in her magazine that I just kept posting and posting over and over because I thought it was cute. And, and it just encouraged me because somebody heard my heart, right? saw my vision and they thought, this is awesome, let's put it out there. And so I want to personally thank you publicly for that opportunity. And Lisa does the same thing with me with a mother's cry. Both of you have been such a blessing to me and encourage me more than you will ever know, because I keep hitting those pivot spots where it's like a fork in the road. And I'm like, am I going to keep even doing this? Like, it doesn't seem like it's beneficial. I'm not getting the response that I think I should be getting. And both of you have been like, giving me that nudge. Keep going, man. Don't quit here. There's something better for you down the road. So I want to,
You ain't come this far to go
yes,
this far. You gotta keep
as
going. I feel like the work that you do is
oh, wow.
amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like that it needs a megaphone, and anytime I can lend my platform to give you that megaphone or give you put more eyes on your project, you have it. You
Oh,
have an open door
that's
policy
sweet.
to my
Thank
platform.
you. God.
You're
And
welcome.
it's funny because not too long ago, Lisa said similar words to me with regard to her platform. Oh my
Mhm.
Lord, y'all gonna make me cry. All right, let me move on here. So when you think about the pivots that have occurred in your life, not just personal ones, but professional ones as well, is your first response that this is a divine redirection, or do you think this is just a painful interruption that I have to work through? Do you see any blessings in it, or do you just see it as a struggle that you have to go through? Lisa?
Honestly, the first there was a recent pivot, and my first question was, "Why, Lord, why?" It was, what did I do? Where have I failed? Where did I sin? Where was my misstep? How did I end up here? I didn't ask for this. It's like, what is really going on? And I did not choose this for myself. And I'm very upset and I'm irate. And I think I cried the first 4 weeks. And it was like, I cried every day for the first 4 weeks. It was like, what is going on? I do not enjoy this at all. And it was like, whoever is listening, ancestors, everybody in the spirit realm, I am not a happy camper right now. So that's how my a recent pivot went, and we got the understanding of why this certain pivot happened and what it was leading up to and what it came to show me about myself.
Yes.
So this pivot this time was to remove the last bit of residue of some things, right? Because I've always believed in doing your own work, and whether it's going to therapy, having a mentor, having a coach, having somebody who can help you kind of see your blind spots, whether journaling, therapy. So those are I'm a real big advocate of those two things, and those were the two things that I use my those were my tools. And so I've done a lot of work and a lot of healing because life's for all of us, and
Yes.
we all come here with some baggage, some things that we need to work through. And I didn't want, so my platform, This Woman Knows, exists because it's to help us all evolve into the best versions of ourselves. And I firmly believe that with my whole heart, is that we are not meant to stay in the same space. And it was like, we're supposed to grow, we're supposed to evolve. And I believe it was Muhammad Ali. It's like, by the time you're 50, if you still have the thoughts and beliefs of your 30-year-old self, you've wasted some time here.
Yeah.
And we're, Michelle Obama just said in regards to her mom who passed, she says it went fast. She was prepared to go, but she says it went fast. And because it does go fast, and it's like, I want to make sure that I'm always growing, I'm always evolving. And so this pivot was designed to help refine some areas. And it was like, see, it's like here, and let's work on this, let's work on that. And it's like, ouch, that hurts. I don't necessarily, I thought we had dealt with that. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's okay, but that's what it was, that's what this pivot was for. And it took it, like, I think it took 4 weeks of crying every day.
Hmm.
4 weeks of, no lie, I cried every day for about 4 weeks. because I could not understand why I had ended up in this particular space. Now I can look at it and go, I thoroughly understand it. I still would have chosen something different. And it's like, I, you know, I surely there could have been another way, but apparently it's like they know
Yeah.
how to get you where you need to be. And so that kind of pivots, it's not, it does, it, being refined does not feel good. Pivots don't always, there, angels descending and great voices out of the sky. And um, uh, no, this was a fight. This
Yeah.
this was this was, I'm not gonna let you go to my bless me kind of fight.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
gotta, yeah, it was. Sometimes you have those moments, and I think that's real for a lot of us. And it's like, I don't understand why I'm here.
Right.
And I can't be the only person who has ever uttered the words. And it's like, God, what did I do to piss you off? Because why am I here? If you really loved me, why am I here? Why
Right.
was this the only solution? And so having to work through that, and then understanding, oh, it's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Right.
touche.
That light bulb comes on.
I
Absolutely.
mean, duly noted. Like,
Absolutely.
mhm.
Wow. Miss Julia, I want to say that I understand that there's some technical challenges tonight. And if you need to stay off camera, that's absolutely fine. We can still share your story and be blessed by your words if that's more comfortable for you. And I also want to say to those who are listening, those who are joining us, and if you have any questions for either of my guests, feel free to put them in the comments, and I will make sure that they see them and respond, because that's why we're here tonight, to pour into you from our learned and lived experiences. So now I want to talk about the cost of the pivot. The cost of the pivot. I have had some pivots in my life, places where I had to just, you know, release some things, release some people, um, unlearn some things. Yeah, let people go. And it was not always easy. There were times you, like Lisa said, you cry, you throw things, you just be like, what in the world? Why is this happening to me? But there is a cost that occurs when we pivot. Miss Julia, what is something that you had to let go of at a major life crossroad?
um, I was married, and I lived in Harrisburg, and I was buying my first home, and I was very, very ill.
Mm-hmm.
I was extremely depressed. I had a book stand in the Harrisburg Greater Area Mall. I was working two jobs, and I was trying to go to school as a nurse. And I was unhappy. And I was staying in my marriage because I had previously been in an abusive relationship, and I did not understand that there was more than physical and verbal abuse. When I came to know that, I left. I left. I was 4 months away from graduation, to getting my bachelor's. I had a little business in the mall. I left the house that I was buying, and I came home. And I realized that until I learned to love myself, I could not be in a relationship, and I could not show up for my business. And most importantly, I couldn't show up for my son. And I had to show him what was acceptable and what was unacceptable and what love looked like.
Yes.
So the cost of learning that lesson was, it seemed at the time astronomical, but it was all a weight. It was all a weight and it was all weighing me down. And I really needed that time with myself to work on myself to show up how I needed to show up. So sometimes the cost seems excruciatingly high, too much even. You know what I'm saying? Too
Yeah.
much to bear. But what are the alternatives? We only have this one life,
Yeah.
and I believe the greatest sin, and this is just my personal belief, is that when God gives you a gift and you refuse to share it,
All right.
it's
Yes.
not just for you. So I had to do the work so I could share my gifts.
I love that. I love that. Miss Lisa, do you have a response to that? You look like you
So
want to say something.
the cost of the pivot. So for me, it definitely cost relationships.
Yeah.
There was a severing that had to happen because of these pivots and what the pivot, it wasn't the pivot, it's what the pivot revealed. So what was
Wow.
unearthed, what was revealed, what was discovered was like, oh, oh, cool,
Good.
I see. And to know me is to know that I have a lot of grace and I love hard, right? And it takes a lot to push me over the edge. But baby, once I'm over the edge, I'm good. It's like
Absolutely.
if I'm
Absolutely.
over the edge, I'm over the edge,
Absolutely.
and it's done. And so it cost me relationships, but I gained peace. It was painful, but it was needed and necessary because I now understood intentions and motives. It became very clear that this was not healthy for me. This was not. Um, this was never going to be good. This was never going to be good. It it just was not. And so I think that everything transpired the way that it did, so that I could see and go, okay, you did everything you knew how to do. This is what it is. Please be done with it. Because had everything not blown up the way that it did, I would still be trying to give, and it's like we can work this out, this all this. And so that whole thing, people will say family over everything, and I go, who we calling family?
That's
I have
right.
a caveat. And so for me, it did cost me, it cost me family. It absolutely cost me family, but I gained peace. I absolutely gained peace and a better understanding of myself. So again, it was this learning who you are, and seeing where your own blind spots are, because there are we we no there is no one soul that's perfect, right? And so we all have our issues and our flaws. And so it's that whole evolving into the best versions of yourself. And so that is my commitment to me, is to always evolve, be ever evolving into the best version of myself.
Absolutely. I think like I think like when you find a rare piece of furniture or something that you purchase at an antique shop and it's all rusty, and or you might purchase it at a junk shop and a junk store, and you keep thinking to yourself, I think there's something really valuable up underneath all this crud, and you just keep scrubbing and scrubbing, and there is some pain involved, there's some discomfort involved, but once you get down to the real gem that you have, um, yeah, I've had a couple people um, messaging me that they're trying to watch the video, but it's not public, and for some reason or another, I'm not even having the option to change the privacy. I don't know. I apologize. The only thing I can do is once we get finished, I can make it public, and then you can share it. But I do apologize. I don't know. Recently, this Restream app, I have had that issue a couple of times where I'm not able to change the lives to public. So I apologize for those of you who want to watch and can't watch. I really apologize. But like I said, as soon as we're finished, I'll be able to change it, and then you can share it. Okay. So I'm sorry. All right, Miss Julia, let me ask you this question. How did you overcome fear or guilt when making a decision that others might not understand?
Um, I never overcome it. I just feel it and do it anyway. Afraid, I'm gonna do it anyway. If if I feel bad that I'm not communicating what I want to the people around me and they're not understanding, but I know that my intent is
Yes.
good, so I don't really. Even if I feel guilt, I'll combat it quickly because I don't do anything with
Yeah.
false or harmful intentions. But yeah, I was afraid just a few minutes ago before I got on this. Like I'll be afraid every day, but I'm not going to ever let that stop me. Like feelings won't be the reason why I do anything, and
Gotcha.
I had to learn over time because I was a loud little hood rat, and I never understood that there was a time and a place for things. It was always the time when I thought of it, and the place was now. So I had to learn to to be still in my feelings, not suppress them, but not take any action based
Mhm.
on how I feel. I'll always, if especially if it's anger, I'll give myself a day or two. But fear, nah, fear's not going to stop me from doing anything. I'm gonna do it afraid.
And I'm the total opposite, right?
Hmm.
I grew up from childhood. I remember being afraid of everything and everybody. Like I was told when I was a little girl, around 7 or 8, that my sensitivity was a negative thing, um, and that I would spend the rest of my life struggling because I was too sensitive. And so I carried those words into my adulthood, and that it meant that every bad thing, every negative thing that happened to me was my fault because I was too sensitive. And so I would like shut down, or I would go into a shell, rather than say what I wanted to say or to express my heart or whatever. And it took me a lot of years to get past that, right? I think when I ended up in a mental health facility and diagnosed with major depression and anxiety, and the people that I thought would be there for me, help me through the healing or whatever, they weren't there. And then I was slapped in the face with the reality that this is about me, right? I got to walk through this by myself. Every now and then somebody might come along and hold my hand, but for the most part, I have to do what is going to bring me to my place of healing. And so now I'm like you, like, oh well, like, and I hear people say to me all the time, you shouldn't say that, or you shouldn't, like, oh well, I said it, it's done now, I can't take it back. So I don't come from a place of wanting to harm people or hurt people or create problems for people. But at the same time, I'm no longer going to allow people to hurt me and harm me. So I totally understand where you are, and that is a place where I pivoted. Right, that was a major pivot. When you wake up and I go to the hospital because I think I'm having a heart attack, I end up being given medication for migraine. It wasn't a heart attack, it was a severe anxiety attack. And so I wake up from sleep and I'm being told that I'm being admitted in a mental health unit because they think I'm suicidal. That is a major pivot. That's a major. You wake up that morning prepared to take an exam at the college, and you end up in the unit in the mental health unit. So that was a major pivot for me, and I had to make some decisions. I had to make some choices, and so I totally understand what you're saying. And from that point, I didn't just wake up the next day or after I got released from the hospital thinking, okay, I'm not worrying about nobody else anymore. I'm going to worry about myself. It took some time, it took some work, but that's where I am now. Like at the end of the day, I have to be responsible for me, and each of us has to be responsible for our own selves. So we're bringing this conversation to a close as these lovely ladies um, have things that they have to do. But I appreciate them joining me. But I do want to ask another question because both of you are great storytellers, and both of you are gifted to bring stories to life, right? There are a lot of people that, and I'm sure you come across people that say, oh, I got a story I want to tell, and then they start this long, half hour long conversation, and you're thinking, no, babe, you're not ready to tell that story. But you might not say it that way, but you're thinking it. But you are both gifted storytellers. So, through your work in the media and in publishing, how do you amplify the unseen pivots that women make on a daily basis? How do you amplify the unseen pivots or the unexpected pivots that women have to address on a daily basis?
I aim to be a mirror. A lot of people where I come from were fed lies about what they could be and who they could be and how they could be it. And I like to stand testament of no, whatever you want to do, you can do it. You can do it. Watch me. When I move, you
Just
move.
like
Just
that.
like that. So, I was independently published. I got a rejection letter on my first book and said, I don't ever want to see that again. So I started publishing myself. And Strawberry Mansion came out in 2008. I signed my first publishing deal in 2023.
Wow.
They told me it wouldn't be done, but now you can see Julia Press Simmons on all the bookshelves all across the nation, in your Walmarts, in your Barnes and Nobles, in your Target. Take that. Tell the people who told me that I couldn't do it, and if I can do it, you
Yes.
can do it. So let's do it
I
together.
love that. I love that. Lisa, representation matters. How does storytelling help women reframe their own seasons of transition? Because I know, like, even with the nonprofit story bank and all of that, you are always encouraging us to tell our stories. Always, like, Jamesina, what's going on with you? What are you doing? Talk to me, da 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 da. So, how do you help us to reframe our own seasons of transition through storytelling?
So I'm a firm believer. So over at Nonprofit Story Bank, and This Woman Knows, both of those platforms exist because I firmly believe that stories can shift the culture. I believe that they can help navigate some of these narratives, and that there's power in our stories. And I believe that our stories have the ability to heal, to help someone see if the stories can be very powerful tools. And so, Nonprofit Story Bank exists to help amplify stories of nonprofits so that community leaders, legislators can see how policy affects the people that these policies are affecting, right? And so that's why that exists. This woman knows exists because it's not just my voice, it's not just my story. And I agree with Miss Julia. It's like my life, it really is a mirror, and it's like tell me no, and it's like I'll show you better than I can tell you,
Yes.
kind of thing. That's really it. It's like it it makes you go, all right. It kind of you got to get a twitch. It's like all right, bet. It's like bet. All right. Um,
Absolutely.
but the platform this woman knows exists so that other women can share their stories of how they've pivoted, how they've evolved. And so it's a woman helping another woman. And it's like my story may help you, and you may not get anything out of my story, but this woman over here,
Yeah.
there's a we have a couple of stories that every day at least 10 people come to the website to take a look at. And one of them is understanding spiritual women. So people are looking for
Yeah.
how to understand and engage with spiritual women. And then the other one is like, I forgave the other woman. And it's like, that's not a story I could tell, but the woman who wrote it for this woman knows. It's so we're learning from each other. And it's like,
Absolutely.
there's there was a study done just recently, and it was about a collaboration. And it's like our success, and especially as women, especially now in this climate that we find ourselves in, we need each other, and our success is so tied into another woman. And it has to, I believe in right collaborations, right partnerships. It has to be mutually beneficial, but our success is going to be tied in us locking hands, locking arms with another woman who can help further advance, bring her expertise, whatever it is. And but it's always mutual. And so I firmly believe that. So your healing, your success, it's all tied into us being willing to be vulnerable, to lend and share our expertise and be compensated for it. Don't get that twisted. There is compensation. James Cena will tell you. I fuss frequently because there should be compensation. There's a saying, it says pay black women, and I firmly pay black women. So don't ask us to speak for free. Don't see I'm on a tangent. We help each other. We help each other.
That's funny because two things. That's one of my issues that Lisa is consistently trying to help me with, and I'm very honest about the compensation part because I was raised by two preachers who were so concerned that people would not think they were just in it for money that they drilled that into my head. And so I'm just so used to just doing stuff to help people that I'm still learning how to say, okay, I want to help you, but I have to be compensated for my time and for my presentation and for my preparation, all of that. So I still struggle with that. Somebody asked me, I did a grief webinar just a couple of weeks ago, and a person who attended the webinar asked me, how much do you charge to do this? Because I want to recommend you to some people that I know will fund it. I couldn't even think of a price, Lisa. I should have called you up. So,
Yes, you should have, dear. You should have called me. Absolutely.
so we'll
True
have to
story.
we'll talk about that offline. But yeah,
Absolutely. Yes,
I
we
got you,
will.
I got you. But
Yes, we
I
will.
do want to say this as we're closing. When you were talking about starting, using what you have, Lisa knows when I first started doing the podcast, and I still have a long way to go. I have ideas that I want to do, but you know how it is. Anyway, when I first did this, Miss Julia, it was in March. I want to say 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I lose track of time. And I was just doing a uh, memorial honoring thing to my mother because she died in the month of March. And I think March is also Women's History Month. So I invited other mothers to just come on live and talk about their experiences as a mother and the gift of motherhood and the pros and cons or what have you. And at the end of that month, someone said to me, "You're very good at that. You ask good questions. You make people feel comfortable. It's like you're just having a conversation instead of an interview. You should keep doing this." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, I see other people doing it and they have, these magnificent backgrounds. The aesthetics are awesome. I'm just giving this whole list of things like, I can't do that. So 3 years later, here I am still doing it. But I think because I found my voice, right? And I decided I didn't have to be like somebody else. I don't have to look like somebody else. I don't have to do it like somebody else. I'm just doing it as Jane Cena. And that was a pivot for me also when you think about it, because I was adamant, oh no, I can't do that. And I had family members, um, including my son that's incarcerated, who is like my biggest cheerleader, say to me, "You can do it." Like, yeah, you can do it. So um, I'm still here doing it. But I want to just say this as we close out. I want you ladies to answer this question, and then I'm gonna let you go. What would you say to your younger self, or maybe to another woman who is standing at the crossroads right now, that is watching us or will be watching us in the replay? What is one thing you would say to them as they're standing at the crossroads? Miss Julia?
Everything that you need to succeed was placed inside you by the Creator at your conception. Everything you need, you already have. You might not have the things you want, but everything you need to succeed, you already have.
Thank you, beautiful. Miss Lisa?
That the answers you're looking for, they're not outside you. You're at the answers you need, they are within you. Sit still, get quiet, learn to hear your own heart. It's inside you. Stay out of, don't go on everybody's prayer line. Don't let everybody lay hands.
Yes,
Um, it's inside. The answers are inside you.
I love it. I love it.
I like Miss Alexander. Yes,
She's
ma'am.
something else, honey. She yeah, she's sharp and she stays on my case, but she does it in such a way that I can't even get mad. Like, I was having this period in my life, Miss Julia, where I was trying to do like 50 things at once. And I just found myself in a state of frustration and like, "Lisa, this is not working," because I'm coming from a place of, oh, I know this will help somebody, because I always had this thing in my head, well, see a need, meet a need. So I'm like trying to do meet 50 different needs in 50 different ways, and none of it is being productive. So she says to me one day, I'm just, I can't do this, and she said, "That's because you are trying to herd cats." And I had never in my life heard that phrase, like herding cats. What the heck is she talking about? And she probably forgot she ever even said that to me. But that sticks in my head when I find myself trying to put my hands in too many pots at once. I think about what she said about herding cats. And she said to me, "Have you ever seen people in a yard able to get a group of cats to come together?" Because even if you get one cat to come to you, the rest of them are running all over the yard doing what they want to do. And you're frustrating yourself because you're trying to herd cats. That was a pivotal moment for me when great wisdom spoke to me and I accepted it. And I'm accepting from you ladies tonight the sacred wisdom that you have shared with us. I pray that the audience will accept your wisdom, apply your wisdom, and move forward on their journey from that place where they need to pivot. Our pivots are not detours, they are divine realignments. And I'm going to say this for real and I'm going to stop talking. But I was talking to somebody the other day about the importance of realignment. And I personally have had 5 different spinal surgeries, right? And so my spine is always out of alignment, and my lower back and my pelvic area. So occasionally I have to go somewhere and have it realigned. And the doctor said to me recently, because of all the trauma that your spine has experienced with these surgeries, it will probably never be as straight as it should be. So there will be times in your life when the pain will become so bad you will have to get a realignment. And that he didn't realize that he was speaking to me spiritually as well as naturally. And so this is why I wanted to have this conversation tonight, because I know with everything that's going on in our government, in our homes, in our businesses, as women, we're finding ourselves at a crossroad, right? And there's some alignments and pivots and adjustments that have to be made. And so I wanted to bring to you 2 women that I know, 2 very powerful voices that I know understand pivoting and changing and readjusting, and have them to speak life into your life. And so I want to thank you, Miss Julia Press Simmons, for taking time out of your schedule to join us tonight, and to share your sacred wisdom. And Miss Lisa Alexander, you are such a blessing to me, and I wanted to share you with the others tonight because I feel like both of you have given us something important to our spirits that will take us to the next level. And I genuinely appreciate you. Do either of you have any closing words that you want to say before we go?
I thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you, Lisa. You know that I adore you. And anytime I will make time anytime. You just have to say the word. And then hopefully all my tech won't disappoint me and I won't have to stand barefooted holding the computer up in the den trying to get a signal.
Yeah. Take, like
So
Lisa said, technology is technology, honey. Sometimes it just does whatever it wants to do.
It's beautiful when it works. Miss Julia, Jamesina, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be in your presence and to share with your beautiful audience. And Miss Julia, pleasure to meet you. I think there's some room for collaboration. I
Absolutely.
I do think that, and we should definitely chat offline at some point and just see how. Let's just see. And so my parting words to you and to your guests and to your audience is the what the pivot comes to show you about yourself. Be open to receive that. For me, it was learning how to receive. I know how to give. I know how to do. What I didn't know how to do was rest and receive. Those were foreign concepts. And so I'll leave that with your audience tonight. If there's somebody who is struggling with rest and how to receive because you're always doing, I would admonish you to learn the lesson before it has to be taught to you.
I love that. Thank
Mm.
you. All right, and I definitely want you to connect because there's definitely a space, a sacred space for collaboration. And again, thank you so much for taking time to be with me tonight. I really appreciate it, and I will speak with you both very soon. Have a great evening. Good night.
good
All
evening.
right.